I enjoyed the Pokemon games as a child, but I stopped playing after Fire Red and Leaf Green. I've tried some indie monster catching games since then, but none that captured my attention for very long. That changed with Cassette Beasts, and today I'm going to talk about how it improves on the classic formula. I'm Ananda, and this is Practical Game Design. Number 1, the combat system. In Cassette Beasts, you are the monster, and you swap between forms rather than summoning things to fight for you. This has an interesting consequence. All your buffs and debuffs stay with you when you switch to a different form. If a status is inflicted on you, you can't escape its consequences by swapping out, and the status conditions you impose are still relevant even when your opponent is defeated and switches to a different creature. This makes status conditions feel much more helpful because they are not lost on a knockout. For Pokemon of equal levels, the one with the type advantage will generally win. The puzzle of matching types loses its appeal after a while. Cassette Beasts fixes this by inflicting positive or negative status effects based on type matchups instead of doubling or halving the damage. Even if your monster is type disadvantaged, you still deal the same damage, so winning is still possible. The game also plays around with types a lot more than Pokemon does. Some moves have a fixed type, and others depend on the type of the user. This means the game can add a lot of effects that change a creature's type, which has both defensive and offensive implications, because some of its moves will change type with the monster. Switching types is a significant part of the game, where it was much rarer in Pokemon because it mostly only mattered defensively. Cassette Beasts' action point system is also a big improvement. In Pokemon, you can generally spam your best moves from the start of the battle, so you don't use your weaker attacks very much. In Cassette Beasts, strong attacks require more action points, so you save those points up while you're using weaker abilities, which makes those weak abilities a lot more important. I never felt the need to use stat-changing moves in Pokemon, but in Cassette Beasts it makes a lot of sense to buff your ranged attack or debuff the enemy's defense while you're waiting for a big attack to charge. Another great thing about the action point system is that it makes using items and swapping monsters feel much better because you are still gaining action points. Swapping Pokemon often felt like skipping a turn. Whenever you ask your players to do something that feels like missing a turn, it's good to give them a silver lining so they can feel good about accomplishing something, in this case, saving up action points for the next big attack. Capturing wild monsters involves recording them for a full round of combat using a tape, which succeeds or fails based on factors like their health, damage that they took that round, damage that you took that round, and probably other things that I don't know about. Unlike Pokemon, the game tells you the percentage chance of success, which is valuable feedback for deciding whether to use a more powerful tape. Also, monsters can't be defeated while you are recording. Their health just won't go below 0. Instead, your character becomes vulnerable while recording because you lose your transformation, making it easier to be defeated. Shifting the risk from accidentally beating the thing you're trying to capture to being defeated yourself is, I think, a smart change because judging how much damage an attack will cause is difficult, and losing a capture to a random critical hit feels pretty bad. Number 2, progression. Like Pokemon, monsters in Cassette Beasts evolve, so much of the progression revolves around leveling them up to get stronger forms with better stats. Unlike Pokemon, however, your stats in any particular form depend not just on the monster, but also on your character's level. The great thing about this is that you can use brand new forms you just recorded without having to grind to increase their level, because a large part of their power comes from your character, not the monster that you're using at any particular time. This changed my approach to team building. Instead of having a core team of the same monsters for every battle, I became more willing to swap out my roster for new faces regularly. The other thing that encourages trying out new monsters is the sticker system. Your monsters learn a brand new move every single time they level up. However, these moves come in the form of stickers, which you can freely remove from one monster and add to another. Different species gain different stickers on level up, creating a powerful incentive to level up as many different monsters as possible to get a variety of stickers. Some stickers are uncommon or rare and have additional benefits compared to their usual effects. Stickers are just as fun to collect as the monsters are. The sticker system might be the game's most important innovation because it means that leveling up one creature strengthens your entire team by giving you more stickers to apply to anything. Monsters in Cassette Beasts are generous. On several occasions, I gained a sticker from one creature and started thinking about how well it would synergize with a different creature's build. Pokemon, by contrast, are much more selfish. When you level up a Pokemon, it only benefits that specific Pokemon, which encourages you to keep using the same one repeatedly. However, this also leads me to my biggest criticism of the game, which is that it needs a way to filter the stickers. I love the subgame of customizing my creatures by swapping stickers around, but you end up with so many stickers that finding the ones you want is a chore. A simple tag-based system for filtering your collection based on status inflictors, move types, rarity, and so forth would go a long way. Also, not all stickers can be used on all creatures, which is good because it creates distinctions between creatures of the same type, but it isn't clear what the criteria are for whether a creature can or cannot use a particular sticker, which can be frustrating when you want to decide whether to peel a sticker from one creature, but you don't know whether it even fits on another one without trying it first. Another great mechanic is that you can recycle almost everything to get raw resources, which lets players eliminate things they don't want. If you get a sticker that you don't like, or you record a monster that you already have, you can recycle it to get some materials for buying things in town. In games with many options to juggle, giving players ways to get rid of options they don't care about is essential for reducing the clutter and letting them pay more attention to the things that they do care about. Number 3, consumables. If you've played many RPGs, you might be familiar with the hoarding problem, where players are unwilling to use consumable items such as health potions because they might be useful later. I found this to be a problem in the Pokemon games, especially since going to a Pokemon Center was free, so using an item to heal or remove status conditions always felt like a waste. Cassette Beasts encourages item usage in several very clever ways. I've already mentioned how the action point system makes using items in battle more appealing by letting you save points for more powerful attacks, but the game also limits how many of each item you can carry. Placing a limit tells the player that stockpiling consumables forever is not an option, so they might as well use them now. But the cleverest thing that it does to get players to use consumables is that it makes different items cost different resources. For example, the tapes that you use to capture creatures cost plastic, but the rewinders that you use to heal your party cost wood. Buying rewinders does not compete with buying tapes, so using them does not feel like wasting resources. In fact, not using rewinders means you are wasting wood resources since you can't do anything with wood besides healing, either by buying rewinds or spending wood at a campfire to restore the entire party. By creating resources dedicated to specific types of consumables, the game encourages players to use those consumables. Number 4, the Overworld. HMs in Pokemon were annoying because they required you to have a Pokemon in your party that knew the move in order to visit certain areas or get through puzzles. In Cassette Beasts, you unlock new movement abilities by recording specific monsters, but you don't need the associated monster in your party to use the ability. Not only does this avoid the awkwardness of HMs, it also ties progression to the monster collecting subgame, which is the main draw of the genre anyway. The movement abilities are interesting as well, especially Bullet Dash. All movement abilities interact with a stamina mechanic. When you run out of stamina, you are exhausted and cannot use any movement abilities until it refills. This places a natural limit on how far you can swim, for instance. However, if you stop using an ability before you are completely exhausted, your stamina recharges faster and you don't have to wait for it to fill up before using the ability again. This creates a minigame of well-timed bullet dashes to zip across the map, which feels amazing. The challenge is to dash as long as possible without exhausting your stamina so that you can quickly dash again, and the reward is rapid movement. Even if you fail, the punishment is only a very minor wait. This minigame makes the normally dull task of moving through areas you've already explored feel fresh and exciting, and is a definite improvement on the bicycle or running shoes from Pokemon. Wild encounters in Cassette Beasts occur when you run into a monster's avatar in the Overworld, which gives you a chance to see what you will be fighting and to avoid encounters if you don't want to fight. This definitely feels better than having random encounters when moving through tall grass. The game also takes advantage of the system to make movement abilities relevant to combat. For example, you can upgrade your Bullet Dash so that if you dash into an encounter, you will start by dealing some fire damage to your enemies, connecting the Overworld movement and RPG battle subgames together. This creates a strategic decision of which abilities you want to use when initiating a battle. Cassette Beasts improves on the Pokemon formula in many other ways, from bootleg creatures that function as shinies but with different types than the originals, to randomized sticker packs that you can buy from vending machines, which introduces a sort of mystery box into the game. Cassette Beasts does a great job of remixing a familiar genre in new and exciting ways. Thanks for watching.